Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Welcome back to the Combat Sports UK podcast. In today's podcast, we're going to be reviewing UFC Macau, which happened last weekend. We are a wee bit late on the ball with that one. Some things came up. We weren't able to shoot the podcast when we were meant to, but what an unbelievable card it was. So we're going to talk about the big moments coming out of it. PFL is going down on Friday evening in Saudi Arabia. It's the $1 million tournament finals, so we're going to be discussing that. We're also going to be discussing who Merat is going to fight next. Obviously, that links in with the main event of UFC Macau as well. And then we're going to touch on the Conor McGregor court case. So something not as fun as the others, but it has to be discussed. As always, I am joined today by Dan, who's fresh off his holiday. Dan, how was your holiday, my friend? Hope you enjoyed it.
It was very good. I not to say the main part was checking Charles Oliveira won, but you know, it was a nice highlight. But yeah, no, it was lovely. Thanks, mate.
What about Oban's performance? I know. I actually never got speaking to you since that. You haven't been on the pod since. Let's hear it.
It was unbelievable. I said I finished the Welsh gangster, and he got it. So you know, Gangster Mania, new contracts on the table now. So like I said, UFC London, main card slot. Main event be Leon, I reckon.
Apparently so. There is rumours on the ground that it is Leon, but what a performance for Oban Elliott. The Welsh gangster train has truly arrived. Talking of up-and-coming UK stars, we had another one making his debut, a star in my opinion, Lonnie Kavanagh. He fought Josh Ochoa. Very, very difficult fight for him, this, for a UFC debut. Both guys undefeated coming into it. This was a great win for Lonnie Kavanagh. It wasn't the best performance in comparison to the performances we've seen him have in Cage Warriors and even Dana White's Contender Series. But under them bright lights for the first time in the UFC, in a foreign country like China, what an unbelievable performance that was from him, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, it was excellent. Like I said, unfortunately for him, he was on a card where there was, you know, thousands of highlight reels. Well, normally it is just him who's getting those highlight reels. So, but the performance itself, I think, was a confident performance. Mm-hmm. It was a really, really well executed. The striking on display was excellent. Like I said, you could tell that Ochoa himself is undefeated. It was a good matchup between two undefeated prospects. So I think it was a good win for Kavanagh. I think it will age quite well. I think Ochoa is a talented guy, and I think he'll go on to achieve more in his career. But Lonnie Kavanagh, I think, is an excellent performance for him. And again, like you said, I think he's eyeing up March UFC London as well, to get him back in front of the UK fans. But yeah, he was excellent. Like I said, he just unfortunately he was crowded without a load of knockouts on the night. But it was a good performance by him, definitely.
It was a very, very good performance, and one that really does set him on his way in the UFC. So big things to come from Lonnie Kavanagh, I believe, anyway. Just to touch on the other fights then, the road to the UFC, again, some banging knockouts in this one, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, it was absolutely unbelievable. When it comes to the road to UFC, it does seem to get more viral moments than the likes of your tough finals and stuff like that. But yeah, the road to UFC was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, of the three finals, two of them delivered some unbelievable knockouts. You're talking knockout of the year contenders. Now for the main one you're going to see virally is going to be Shi Ming. She delivered an absolute unbelievable head kick. Now that left her opponent, I think it was 4 minutes her opponent was unconscious for.
Scary, really, wasn't it, watching it live?
Scary,
it was.
Yeah, it was like scary. So you could see that, you know, the doctors and stuff were a bit concerned, and you could see the UFC were panning around it as well. Unfortunately for UK based fans, it was Kira Sahuta. He unfortunately was KO'd as well. Again, a vicious KO from him, and that was only in the first round as well. So like I said, it was a really big when it comes to road to UFC. But yeah, Shi Ming, like I said, that's the one you would have seen. Luckily, like I said, from what I'm hearing now, that her opponent's okay. But yeah, she's out for 4 minutes, and it was rough. Obviously, quite well, keeping her up to date throughout the night on a condition and stuff, and I thought that was quite considerate. But like I said, for Shi Ming, it's an absolutely unbelievable moment for her, and I reckon she's now, you know, she's made a name for herself. Like I said, everyone recognised her as this qualified doctor that she is, and her parents never even knew she
Her
fought, and
parents
she
never
delivered
knew.
a knockout like that. It was Leon Edwards-esque. It was a unbelievable head kick. So yeah, really, really great night for her. And the road to UFC, yeah, it just proves, like you said, it really does deliver those KO finishes.
Done well on this card for sure, and it seems like over in Asia, especially the road to UFC, it really is such a big thing now. It doesn't have quite the same over in Europe for some reason. It does seem to be more an Asia-based thing. It's kind of their version of the Ultimate Fighter, isn't it? But some unreal knockouts, and that baby-faced assassin. Oh my goodness, unbelievable. What a head kick that was. And the fact that her parents thought she was at a traditional combat sports competition, breaking planks of wood and all this kind of stuff. But instead, she's leveling girls out cold in the middle of the UFC octagon. So what a story that is. And I'm looking forward to seeing her make her UFC or her full UFC debut as she gets the contract. So one of my favorite performances, Mingying Zhang. Boy, did he look good. He looked so good. 11 wins in a row now, all first round finishes. This guy's had a lot of experience. He's only 26. But how impressive was he against Aussie Diaz, sorry.
Yeah, I think Yan Zhang, like I said, the debut I think for the UFC was Ribeiro, and it was one of those where it was put on because they're both first round finish, like every single fight of theirs was early in the fight. Now for Min Zhang, like I said, 18 first round wins, first round knockout, like it's unbelievable. I mean, you talk about Shavkat and his perfect record, 18 wins, 18 finishes, no defeats, but 18 first round finishes is absolutely unbelievable. And like I said, against Aussie Diaz, he's had tough moments, like I said, against Joe Piper, but you really fancied him coming in, and he could really spoil the party over in China. But like I said, for Mingyang Zhang, it was an absolutely amazing moment for him, and I think he's really shown himself now to be a contender at 205, which is it's a light heavyweight division. It's a light division for contenders. You're looking at Alex Pereira. He's top 5. He's finished all of them. He's a really, really good chance for China to get someone in those bigger weight divisions that they've not had previously. So I think for Mingyang Zhang, you're looking close to a top 15 ranking very quickly for him, because he's got that star power that I think they do need over in Asia, especially in the higher weight divisions. So I think for him, he's definitely looking close to getting a ranking soon. But he was absolutely amazing, and definitely deserved the bonus I think he did get. And the Mountain Tiger, great nickname as well. Like I said, he's on his way up the rankings. Definitely, he might be chasing up to Carlos Ulberg soon.
He is flying. And as you mentioned, Carlos Ulberg, that was the next one. It was good seeing him back in action, obviously beating Volk and Ozdemir. Ozdemir's good. So Carlos Ulberg going out there. And did he win? Was it 30-27 or 29-28? I can't quite remember.
I think it might be 30-27, maybe one card 29-28. But yeah, it was a clear win for him.
So that's him at 11-1 now. Really good record. What happens next? Do you think Khalil Roundtree is the fight to make? I know at UFC 303, the most cursed fight of all time, they weren't meant to fight each other, Carlos Ulberg and Khalil Roundtree, but they were both on that fight. And that fight was changed so many times. But these guys have kind of crossed paths before, but the fights never got made. Is that the one you would make next?
I think it's a perfect call out from Carlos Ulberg. Everyone tends to say, look, if you call out the guy who's just lost the title, that's as close as you can get to without calling out the champion. So I think it's an excellent call out for Carlos Ulberg. The fight itself, I mean, it sells itself. You can see that on the main card in Perth at 312 or Sydney at 312. It'd be an absolutely cracking fight. So I reckon, Carlos Ulberg, Khalil Roundtree, that's definitely the fight to make for Ulberg. This is the thing. I don't think he would have got a Jamal Hill fight. Obviously, now he's fighting Yuri Prohashka. But I think it's a calculated call-out and a really good call-out. I think it's one that Ulberg fancies himself for winning as well. Because, like you said, he's seen Pereira with that kickboxing style against Khalil Rountree, who's more of a powerhouse, a bit more of a marauding style, and Oldberg fancies himself to sort of stick and move, stay on the edge of the punches and stuff. So I think Oldberg fancies himself in that fight, and it's definitely a perfect fight next for Carlos Oldberg, and I can definitely see it at UFC 312 over in Sydney.
This was a really good card for light heavyweights. As you say, it is one of the divisions, once Pereira gets through, if he does get through Magomed and Kalaev, you wonder who's next. And Carlos Oldberg and Ming Zhang, they're maybe 1 or 2 wins away. More so Oldberg, he's 1 win away, I would say. But Ming Zhang, he looks like a scary contender up there. If he gets one more win, maybe outside the rankings, he also enters the light heavyweight contention. So it's good to see. It's good to see some light heavyweights coming through and showing that scary power as well, the way Ming Zhang is. Then we have potentially another. We just mentioned KO of the year contenders. I think this is a KO of the year contender as well. Muslim Sakalov against Kenan Song. Spinning wide kick, unbelievable. 40 years old and he's landing that.
I know. I think his hips are 20, not 40, because the way he's spinning around like that, he's absolutely crazy. Like you said, 15 heel kick knockouts, I think, in the UFC. He's got 2 of them. King of Kung Fu. It was so good to watch. The technique on it is absolutely picture perfect. I mean, if you're teaching kids in the gym how to throw a wheel kick, the man you bring up is Muslim Salikov. He is that guy, the King of Kung Fu. It was such a brilliant knockout. The technique on it is just you can't pick a better knockout. Like you said, it is just perfect from him. Unfortunately, like you said, it's one of those things that Song Kenan would have been training every single day. Keep going, watch that heel kick, and it catches him out. Like I said, you can't let Muslim Salikov spin in front of you, because you'll be on the end of that heel.
I was super impressed with it, super impressed. And as you say, it is a speciality of his. Song would have been training to defend that. That is, a lot of his camp would have been based around that. And when Muslim Sakalov still was able to do it, unbelievable stuff from him. We'll talk about the main event then. We'll spend a bit longer on this one. We kind of done a whistle-stop tour of the rest of the card there. But the main event, it definitely delivered. We had former flyweight champion in Figueiredo taking on Peter Yan, former bantamweight champ. So, very good fight. It was everything that I expected. I kind of said before, I'm a big Figueiredo fan. So, if you had asked me, I probably would have wanted him to win. But what I did say was Peter Yan had only lost at the highest level. And I think he showed that in there, I think it was a clean sweep. He won all 5 rounds against Figueiredo, which is an unbelievable achievement. That there trip he landed, what about that trip? Unbelievable. That was so nice, wasn't it?
I think it was Ostegari trip or something along those lines. I think I saw, wasn't Leon using it a lot in one of his fights I've seen before? But yeah, no, it's so mightily impressive, like I said, when you see it. And the one he landed in that second round, that's the clip that everyone's seeing online.
No, that was absolutely beautiful. His hands looked really fast. In close, Muay Thai was absolutely beautiful. You can tell he's been training out in Thailand, getting all the good Muay Thai rounds in out there. Figueiredo, I don't know. It wasn't a bad performance from Figueiredo. I just think Yan was just a level above on the night, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think like I said, I had Figueiredo going into it. Like I said, I just felt form-wise, Figueiredo, since moving up to bantamweight, he's looked absolutely so good. Like I said, and people generally think it might have been a case of he was cooked at flyweight. He was just really struggling with that weight, and that move up to bantamweight's refreshed him. And he has those 3 performances have all been excellent so far. So I had Figueiredo going into this fight. I thought Yan, like I said, I agree with you. He's only ever lost to the elite. But in my opinion, Jason Figueiredo is an elite fighter. So I thought he really could have been. I didn't see him stopping Yan. I probably saw a decision or something. But for Figueiredo, no, I don't think it was a bad performance. I agree with you. Peter Yan was absolutely on fire. He was the best Peter Yan I've seen since the Sterling loss. Like I said, it's just really showed elite levels. And for Figueiredo, like I said, unfortunately, it's an age thing now. You're looking at 36 years of age or something like that. If he had beaten Yan, by all means, he's straight in with Merab at the start of next year. But now with a loss to Yan, he's sort of finding where where does he go next? A lot of fans were saying, look, if Mario Bautista hadn't done that to Jose Aldo, you could be seeing Aldo versus Figueiredo next year, and that would have been like an unbelievable fight. But I think for Figueiredo, yeah, it wasn't a bad performance. He definitely showed. To be honest, I think the scorecards were quite wide. I had it 48-47, Jan, which was obviously a lot closer than some people, but 50-45 I felt was a bit harsh on Figueiredo. Like I said, he's dropped Peter Yan. It's not an easy feat, and I think for Figueiredo next, you're looking somewhere middling in the rankings. But for Peter Yan, it was such a good performance. He may have jumped Umar for that title shot.
This is what I wanted to get on to next. There's kind of a lot of talk around this title shot because apparently what's happened is Umar was offered it in March and has had to decline it because of Ramadan. And then he was offered it for UFC 310. That was probably whenever the Bilal Muhammad and Shavkat fight fell off. I would say they tried to get this title fight on that, but it's obviously not happening at 310 now. That card's been rejigged and it's been announced. March didn't work for Umar because of Ramadan. He came out and says that he knows him not fighting in Ramadan is going to have consequences. It means he probably won't get the fight for the title until the end of 2025. So that leaves Merat. Who does he fight? I thought the Sean O'Malley rematch, I didn't necessarily agree with it, but I thought that was the one that was happening. But in the media, it doesn't really seem to be the one people's talking about now. So I don't know if Sean O'Malley has lost interest in that fight, if he wants to maybe take a wee while longer out, maybe he wants to fight a contender. But it does look like Peter Yan maybe is at the forefront of getting this fight at the moment. And it does look like it's going to be March. I think that's pretty much confirmed because you've got Arman Suruk and Islam Makhachev. Looks like it's going to be January. And then you have Dricus du Plessis and possibly Sean Strickland February. So this fight probably will happen in March. Is it, Jan? Do you think so?
I think I've got a curveball. I'll bring it up in a little bit. But for Peter Yan, I think it's going to have to be. It's just, unfortunately, it's process elimination. You look at it, Sean O'Malley, like I said, it was a close fight. But, I mean, people saying that Sean O'Malley won at the Sphere. No, like, come on, let's not take the piss here. Come on. But even for Peter Yan, Sean O'Malley had a better.
You don't think O'Malley won that? No.
No, I would have loved. I wish he did, but unfortunately, I can't put the O'Malley glasses on for forever. It's me.
I would actually disagree.
Sniffing. You think he did? Yeah.
I think so. The Yan fight, you mean?
No, I mean the Merat.
Oh shit! Right. Of course, no. There's no way he won that one. I thought you were on about the Yan fight there.
Oh yeah, no, the Yan fight, yeah, I had O'Malley winning that as well. But yeah, that was an excellent fight, and that's what I was going to move to. So unfortunately for Merat, he's dominated both Yan and O'Malley. So they're now looking, well, who else is there? It's Umar. Obviously, the timing doesn't work for Umar. Of course, understandable. Like I said, I would have liked to see, from what I heard, Umar declined being a backup fighter at the Sphere, which, you want to see a bit more activity from someone. So I think for Umar, like I said, later on in the year, that's fine. But for Merat, he needs someone in March. He seems adamant on that March date. That is going to have to be O'Malley or Yan. Like I said, the O'Malley talk seems to have gone quiet. But I've got a bit of a curveball that I want to throw in. So obviously, ideally, Figueiredo had won. Yeah. So everyone could go Figueiredo, new contender, March, perfect, lock it in. Well, Alexandre Pantoja is going to fight at 310. Now, I think he's very close to the end of his flyweight career. I think he beats Kaya Sakura quickly. And I think Pantoja versus Merab Dvalishvili. It's a new fight. No one's seen it. No one's even thought about it. And Pantoja going for 2-belt status. Why no one else talking about it? If I'm Alexander Pantoja, as soon as I finish Kaya Sakura, Merab Dvalishvili, let's go. That's what I'm saying. And that is exciting. That's something new. You don't want to see the rematch. Like I said, it's only recently he's just dominated Yan and O'Malley. So yeah, Pantoja is my curveball. Not going to happen, but you like to throw it up.
You have just plucked an absolute bolter out of the sky there, to be fair. What a scenario would that be? See if this fight was happening maybe June, July, if Merat was looking that day, I would say there's actually a good chance that will happen because the UFC can't be, they can't be buzzing with it has to be a rematch, whether it's O'Malley or Yan. So they would like that scenario, but it's maybe just March is a wee bit too soon. But Pantoja moving up, you've been calling that for ages. To be fair, you think his flyweight career is coming to an end, and I agree. But similar to Figueiredo, the older you get, that weight class mix gets harder and harder to make, doesn't it? You can kind of outgrow that weight class, which is exactly what happened to Figueiredo. If you had to put your money on it now, who's it going to be? Merat versus Yan or Merat versus O'Malley? I'm going to go Yan. I think Yan. I just think there's a reason why. There has to be a reason why the camp of O'Malley has been so quiet at the moment. Yeah. Because there was all of the talk. We want that rematch. We want to run it back. But it's a bit of a strange one. I don't know if there's maybe a wee niggle or a wee injury going on in O'Malley's camp or what's happening.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Like I said, it's most likely going to be Yan. I think most fans all want Yan O'Malley too. That's the actual rematch people want to see, and we want to see that over 5 rounds. But I think it would probably be Yan. Like you said, he's the guy coming off the win. O'Malley's defeat, obviously, it was quite dominant, so it's difficult to throw him straight back into a title shot. Like I said, O'Malley versus Sandhagen is a fight that, again, it gets thrown up all the time, but again, it's all gone a bit quiet on O'Malley's side. So I think I agree with you. I think it will be Yan at UFC. Was it 313? It will be in March.
313. And then the other question is that a good enough fight to headline a pay-per-view? Is that good enough to sell tickets in the States? We know what kind of style Merat has. He's got one finish in his whole UFC career, I think it is. Yan will bring it. We've seen how exciting Yan is there, but do you put Merat as a main event? And especially after the Sphere as well, because it was Sean O'Malley that was headlining the Sphere. It wasn't Merat necessarily. It was Sean O'Malley that was the A side on that. So is that big enough, the main event of a pay-per-view?
This is the thing. I think unfortunately, with the timing of it, you are sort of stuck. You're looking at Islam again, January, Dricus as well. But again, March, like I said, that's Ramadan. So you're looking at your Alex Pereira would be fighting, say, Ankalaev. Ankalaev going to be Ramadan, so it won't be Pereira. Pereira's most likely going to be summertime anyway. But I think if you're looking at the champions, you are looking at a co-headliner being a women's fight. So again, if you're looking at who we just mentioned, the UFC Macau, say Yan Xiaonao had an excellent performance if they run the rematch for that. But I think for UFC 313, unfortunately, it's going to be Merat. I don't think it's strong enough to headline. They're probably going to chuck a women's title fight in there as well. Because to me, I can't see any other the male divisions working out with timings and stuff like that. Like I said, welterweight, Bilal, is this injury now, is that going to put Bilal out to the summer now? And again, with Ramadan, like I said, it's a difficult time for that UFC 313 card. They might just have to stack it with an excellent main card with like some 3 5-rounders. Just get Michael Chandler in there just because it's Michael Chandler, something like that. But yeah, they'll have to stack 313, I think, quite heavy to get those pay-per-view sales.
Yeah, for sure. And they have got the ability to do it. Just because the title fight isn't the best title fight you could have, they can still put some good contender matchups and some prospects on that card, and it's going to sell anyway. UFC talk is finished. We've finished talking about the Premiership. We're moving on to the Championship now. The PFL in Saudi Arabia. This is a good card, to be fair to the PFL. Bit of English interest in the main event and the co-main event. We'll kick it off with the main. We've got Brendan Loughnane taking on Timur Hizrev. Timur Hizrev, 17-0, 18-0, 17-0.
17, I think.
17-0, undefeated. He's coming in as a pretty big favourite for this one as well. Obviously, Brendan Loughnane has already won the £1 million tournament. He is already a PFL World Champion, won it in 2022. Fell short last year. I think it was semi-finals he got beat. So back again this year. Brendan Loughnane, what kind of chance do you give him here against an undefeated Dagestani?
What are the odds?
The odds, I think Brendan Loughnane was about 3-1, and I think Hizrev was maybe coming in, was it 2-5 or something? You were getting very little odds on him, but 3-1 for Brendan Loughnane.
I'll give him a better chance than that. That's a bit unfair for Brendan. I think Brendan Loughnane is one of the most underrated fighters coming out of the UK. He should be in you when you look at Mount Rushmores for UK fighters. Brendan Loughnane is there or thereabouts. It's just
He's an
because
OG,
he's done it
isn't
at
he?
the PFL. It's just because it's the PFL. Now, people don't pay that much attention to him, but he's been absolutely excellent whenever he's performed. Like I said, last year, like I said, it was a knockout loss, and it was really difficult for him. Like I said, that's the first career loss. He's had over 35 fights or so. Like I said, first career loss with a knockout, and he really dawned on him. He thought, oh, how am I going to fare now after that? And he's come back, and he's looked absolutely excellent again. So for Timur Khizriev, like I said, 17-0, it's a Dagestani wrestling heavy strategy. Like I said, I believe he's only got 3 finishes on his record. I think Brendan Loughnane's 30 wins, he's got 17 knockouts. So I think for Brendan Loughnane, it's obvious what needs to be done. He needs to put this guy's chin on his fist. That's what needs to happen for Brendan Loughnane to get this done. Now for Khizriev, in the tournament so far, it has looked like he's slowed down a little bit, and that's only over the 3 rounds. Now for Brendan Loughnane, he can go for 5. He's an absolute grinder. He's out in Tiger Muay Thai probably 360 or 365 days a year. And like I said, Tiger Muay Thai is a massive gym. Like I said, Peter Yan's been out there. Fiziev is out there. He's getting great work out there. So I think with Brendan Loughnane, again, it's tough. It's going to be tough. Like I said, Khizriev, he's 17-0 for a reason. He's an aggressive, dominant wrestler. But for Brendan Loughnane, look, plus 380. Hey, I'll take those odds all day.
Oh yeah. It's definitely worth throwing in an accumulator. They boost him. I think for Brendan Loughnane here, the key is as it is with fighting any Dagestani wrestler, there is blueprints out there in how they fight them. You attack the lead leg, try and slow them down. The chances are he is going to land a takedown. Let's face it, we'll not be naive and think Brendan Loughnane is going to defend 100% of the takedowns. I think whenever he does get taken down, to just let the round play out, suffer as little damage as possible. There's not a massive chance here that he's going to get finished, which is good. He's not like Islam that's going to take you down and ground the pound, or even like a Chimaev that's got that real aggressive wrestling. It's more smother ye style wrestling that Khizriev is going to bring. So I think for Brendan Loughnane has to kick the lead leg, try and avoid the clinch. And saying that, he's been doing a lot of Muay Thai out there. He'll be working on the clinch a lot. He might actually fancy himself in the clinch, but if it was me, I would keep the distance. I think Khizriev probably will get a few takedowns. Loughnane just has to ride it out, wait and pick a shot. And the thing is as well, the fight IQ and the experience of Brendan Loughnane as well. Let's say he gets taken down in the first 2 rounds. He knows exactly what kind of takedown is going to come. He knows what to expect. He can make them reads, and he might be able to land an uppercut or a knee up the middle as the takedown's coming in. And it is an interesting matchup. Because you're kind of typical wrestler matchup coming up against someone with unbelievable striking and Brendan Loughnane. So if you had to give us a prediction, these predictions for the next 2 fights are probably going to be completely biased, but Combat Sports UK, so we have to back our fighters.
Yeah, they are going to be biased. I will let you know that. But and I think for Brendan Loughnane, like I said, and this is a big announcement. I don't know if you saw it. PFL allowing elbows now, so that is a really, really, and like Brendan Loughnane saying in interviews, for 5 years he's had to not use one of his biggest weapons. Like I said, in that clinch, that's where elbows live in dreams. So I think for Brendan Loughnane, get those elbows working. Let's get Khizriev cut up. Like I said, when you are on the ground now, unfortunately, if there weren't elbows, you'd be sort of a bit safer. But now there are elbows. He does need to watch out for Khizriev on the ground. But I think, like you said, for Brendan Loughnane, the fight IQ is really gonna help him here. And for Khizriev, I think it's those late rounds. He will get punished, and Brendan Loughnane is not a guy to pull back. He will find that finish, and I think it's gonna come. You're looking late round 4. Or round 5 TKO. I'm seeing championship rounds. Brendan Loughnane gets it done. £2 million now made for Manchester. Nice little house in Manchester for him there. But yeah, so I think Brendan Loughnane, tournament winner once again. Combat Sports UK is always going to be biased. I assume you're going the same.
Yeah, he must have literally looked at my prediction before. I was going to say the exact same. I think he's going to have to weather the storm in round 1 and 2.
Yeah.
He might nick round 3. Who knows? I think it's going to be very, very tight up until that. But round 4, at the end of round 4, I think he'll pick a shot. And he's got that dog in him. Brendan Loughnane, when he has you hurt, he knows how to finish you as well. So I'm going for end of round 4 / start of round 5 TKO. Completely not biased, but moving on to the co-main event. I actually don't think the pick for this one is biased because I think she does live up to the hype. Dakota Shiva taking on Talia Santos. What about this woman? Unbelievable. Obviously, her mother, a former world kickboxing champion, fighting is in the legacy. She's got it all. I've seen Adam Catterall actually speaking about her earlier, and he is very, very high on her. He says it's like Ronda Rousey vibes coming off her. If she gets a win here, the UFC will be watching this for sure. If she picks up a win here, the UFC might be on the phone. 13-0. Had a great career so far, but this is her biggest fight by far.
Oh, definitely. I think for Dakota Shiva, now this will come across as bias, and that's fine. We are talking about the hottest prospect in the sport, full stop. This girl, 13-0, is stopping everyone. Now, that's not something you see in women's MMA. She's got everything. Like I said, she talks the talk, she walks the walk, and she's really putting on excellent performances every time she steps into that PFL smart cage. So I think for Dakota Shiva, this is the name. Talia Santos is the name. This is your ex-UFC contender. Many thought she beat Shevchenko. If Dakota Shiva does what she's done to everyone else and finishes Talia Santos, something that Valentina Shevchenko could not do, your world's your oyster. Dakota Shiva could very much be women's MMA's pioneer. Like I said, this could be Joanna Jędrzejczyk levels, like Adam Catterall was saying, Ronda Rousey. This is generally next level stuff. For Dakota Shiva, she'll inspire the next generation of women's MMA stars. Like she's been inspired by Ronda, she will be the next generation's one to look up to. So I think for Dakota Shiva, like I said, this weekend is such a massive weekend for her. PFL Europe was a breeze for her. She could have done that with her eyes shut. This is now the World Championship, and this is her moment now to prove to the world she is by far the world's best women's 125 pounds fighter.
And the UFC will be calling because they are lacking some good female talent, up-and-coming female talent in the UFC. As you say, but this is a very tough fight for her. Someone as experienced as Santos. I think her grappling is going to be tested here. Ronda Rousey was picked out for the same thing. You kind of seen that her grappling wasn't as good as what her striking was. This might, who knows if it'll be the same. It would be good to see Dakota Shiva really, really defending the takedowns and really getting the better of Santos on the ground and answering all them questions. And the UFC coming knocking, and we know exactly what they expect from her in her first UFC fight then. But what an unbelievable career she's had so far. And as you say, I actually don't think this is us being biased, but she is unbelievable. And the stardom that she could go to, it's just about getting by this one. This really this feels like a Champions League final for her. Like, this is huge for her because it's not as if she's already in the UFC. Don't get me wrong, if she gets beat by someone experienced like Santos, a couple of wins in the PFL, the UFC would maybe even come calling anyway. There's no stars like this coming up the female divisions in the UFC. So even if she did get beat, they may come calling. But they go into the UFC as an undefeated fighter. What a story that would be.
Exactly. That's a dream. You want to be going into UFC with that because that will get you far more opportunities. And I could even see you're looking instantly at a title contender fight if she does move to the UFC. Like I said, at 13-0, and if she beats Santos 14-0, you're not going to bring her in and against unranked fighters or anything like that. She's going to be UFC London March. She's going to be smack bang that main card in a number one contender fights for 125 pound title. Definitely. Like you said, for Dakota Shiva, like you just said, this is by far her toughest test to date. And I do expect her to be tested. Like you said, I may be, blowing all the smoke. I may be steamrolling this Dakota Shiva train, but she's going to get tested. And Talia Santos is a girl to test her. So I think it's not something you're looking for an instant first round KO. Like I said, I can see it going later, a bit like Brendan's fight that we just previewed. But for Dakota, I still do think she does put a stamp on it. Like I said, Talia Santos, a very, very tough coat. Like I said, her grappling is unbelievable. So you want to see Dakota Shiva tested in that area and then come through it. Because if you can see her come through adversity, then that's another tick in the box then for how big the star can become. For Dakota, I'm thinking third round. I'm thinking third round finish. The first round might be touchy, a bit of grappling up against the fence and stuff, but I think from then on, Dakota finds her range and she does find Talia Santos, and you're looking TKO, maybe referees pulling it off her. But yeah, no, I think Dakota Shiva third round TKO is what I will go for. I wouldn't be surprised if I see a decision, but we're going all in here, Combat Sports UK. So two finishes for the Brits.
I'm going round 2. I think this is her moment, mate. This is her moment. I think she is going to land. I don't know, maybe a wee hook or something as Santos is coming in, because she's very, very powerful. Like, she is very powerful, very rangy. Like, she can pick her punches very, very well. So I don't see why she couldn't do it early in round 2. And it is hard to gauge, isn't it? Because Santos doesn't happen too often in the PFL where you've got someone where how they fare up in the UFC, because the UFC is always going to be the A-League. Like, the questions now is Dakota Shiva. Yes, she's 13-0. What's her opponents been like? They've been okay. They've been pro MMA fighters, so they're obviously to a certain standard. But in comparison to the UFC, what are they like? We know what Santos done in the UFC. She had a fight with Erin Blanchfield, as you say. A lot of people think she beat Shevchenko. So if Dakota Shiva can do that in round 1, round 2, this is huge for her. And I think it is going to be round 2. Completely biased. Combat Sports UK, we are going to be. But I'm really looking forward to that one. Is there any other fights you wanted to mention on the PFL playoffs before we move on and talking about Mr. McGregor?
There's a couple of fights. Like I said, you're looking at the PFL. You've got 2 more £1 million tournaments going on. You've got Impa Kasanganay, who's a former UFC fighter. Since moving to the PFL, he's been brilliant. And like I said, he's really, really found himself. I believe he's at 205 now. But for Impa Kasanganay, unfortunately for him, he's on the receiving end of the biggest highlight reel KO you'll ever see. The spinning ninja kick from Joaquin Buckley. So for Kasanganay, it's a case of reinventing himself. And look, he's got the chance to do it here to win in that $1 million. Now he is fighting the Wolfhound. Now he's a very aggressive wrestler, and he is looking to get the finish there. And I believe he's out of. I think he might be an Afghan fighter. I think he's Afghanistani. But he's been impressive as well in the PFL. So that's an excellent final. And the one that is possibly going under the radar. Right, Turkmenistan. So with the welterweights, you're looking at 170. You're looking at 2 Russian undefeated fighters, Musayev and Umalatov, I believe. Both of them, like I said, undefeated Russian fighters, really have been impressive all the way through. And like I said, you can expect the winner there. These are type of fighters where these are UFC level fighters, they're just not in the UFC. So I think it's again, no UFC this weekend. Why would you not tune in for this? This is your MMA fix for the weekend, and it is high level stuff. Like I said, people do think that, like you said, the PFL is a championship. They do sometimes disregard it, but these $1 million tournaments, when you're at that final stage, these are elite level prospects. And also for the PFL, they've got their MENA tournament, which I believe is like your Middle Eastern fighters. Now that's their sort of version of Road to the UFC or something like that. It's again about building those fighters out of Saudi Arabia and that sort of a region, which again obviously coincides with Riyadh season and that sort of thing. So it's well worth tuning into the PFL this weekend. I think the 4 top dogs you're saying, Brendan Loughnane, Dakota Shiva, the 2 other title fights with Kasanganay, and then the welterweights as well. It's definitely worth tuning in for. And it may be the championship. It's elite level, and like you said, championship teams beat Premier League teams all the time. So
they do. And I think you did make a very fair point there. Or maybe was shitting on PFL a bit too much when I said it was a championship. It is the championship, but as you say, these $1 million tournaments, if you're getting to even the semi-final, you would think someone that comes like fourth in this tournament or gets put out in the semi-final, they probably are going to be at the level of someone that's ranked in the UFC. So these top guys in these tournaments, they could fight in the UFC, and many of them have done. Many of them have done well in the UFC as well. But definitely tune in to the PFL this week. And obviously it's on Friday night as well. Saudi Arabia, which is always a godsend for us here in the UK. We get to watch it at good time. So I'll be tuning in anyway, and we don't have to fight sleep to watch it, which is always a bonus. Conor McGregor then, what a bad couple of weeks he's having, Dan. Not good at all. Listen, we're not going to get into the court case. We're not lawyers. We haven't seen the CCTV. We haven't seen the evidence. But what we can talk about is what this means for his career so far. I was always doubtful if he was going to be back in the octagon. I'm even more doubtful now. He does have 2 fights left in his UFC contract. What they do with that, I don't know, because I could see him still having boxing fights. And my kind of idea was that Dana would maybe, similar to the Floyd Mayweather situation, he would maybe let him box like a Manny Pacquiao or someone like us here, and UFC has a finger in the pie as well, and they're making money out of it. But I don't know. Can you see the UFC trying to distance themselves? I've seen that online, but I don't think so. The UFCs are, they've got John Jones as a heavyweight champ, for God's sake. I don't think the UFC are going to distance themselves as such.
No, I do see some truth in it. Like you said, obviously this Conor McGregor return to the UFC octagon is a long awaited thing that everyone's sort of drumming up. Now, obviously, it's supposed to happen in June. Injury, whatever, kick it down the road. Now, what I found recently was Dana White saying about Conor McGregor return at the end of 2025. Now, that was quite shocking to sort of hear, because everyone's sort of saying, it's in the next few months, and then he kicks it, a year down the line. That, to me, I think may have been something linked towards this, because I think it is a case of the UFC. I said, imagine he was headlining for UFC 310, and this comes out. It's not what you want to be seeing. Now, I agree with you. I think the UFC, like I said, like John Jones is the heavyweight champion, and let's just say he's not a great person outside the octagon, in many cases. So for someone like Conor McGregor, like I said, biggest star in the sport, I do agree with you. Possibly I could see him boxing. I am really struggling to see him ever fight in the UFC again, truly. I don't think it's something, because then you're thinking, like, who do you even match him against? And even press conferences and stuff like that, they're going to be so difficult now, because every question is going to be this, it's going to be that. Every fighter you ever face, imagine he fought someone like Colby Covington. What is the first thing that Colby Covington's going to bring up? Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things now. It's going to, whatever the result, and like you said, we're not lawyers, we can't comment at all. Let the courts decide. But whatever the result, it's going to hang over his head like a cloud. It will follow him around, not even the rest of his life. So for someone like Conor McGregor, like I said, he doesn't need to fight in the UFC again. UFC may want him to fight again, but I can't see it. I can't see it anymore.
The other thing is as well, if you're kind of taking a different approach and looking at this, Hitman, one of the collaborations he had, has cut ties. Proper 12. That's a big one for him. You think back to the Nate Diaz fight, and all he has is the Proper 12, and he's looking at it and he's proud of it. And of course, there was other people along with him that built that. But for them, they cut ties with him. I know he sold the business. He had made his money in Proper 12, but he's now not going to be the face of their alcohol. Their alcohol is just, you may as well start pouring it down the sink now. If you own Proper 12, as in the brand, if you own stock in Proper 12, because that's just going to go way down the washer now. You Black Forge, or not the Black Forge, the Forge Irish Stout has been pulled from Asda, Tesco, Circle K down south in Ireland. Will Conor McGregor need to fight for money? Who knows? Because there's a lot of these deals, and new deals aren't going to be happening now. Conor McGregor isn't going to be getting the same lucrative deals that he got before. So this might affect him financially more. Listen, he's got that much money in the bank, he could retire now and not work a day in his life, and he'd be highly comfortable. But this is a man that loves money, and this is a man that loves spending money as well. So I don't know. There is another angle you could take at this where it might make him more likely to fight, because he has to come out, kind of clear his name if he becomes Conor McGregor that wins fights again, because everything's been so negative about him for so long now, hasn't it? But
Definitely.
it is very sad to see. And the same video was the gyms down in Dublin. There was people painting over him, and this here kind of thing happening. And it is sad to see, because especially in Ireland, this guy in the sport, not just Ireland, but especially Ireland, this guy has inspired so many. This was the guy that done the impossible, that done it from living in a council house to making it the UFC champ, making all the money that comes with it. The story is like something from a movie, but this will be a hard one for him to shake off. And the thing is, there's been so many rumors and stuff about McGregor before, but nothing really stuck. Nothing stuck. Even the punching the old man in the bar, and there's been a hell of a lot of controversies. But people would still say I'm a McGregor fan when McGregor was doing anything. If it was a live stream on Twitch, it didn't matter what it was. People tuned in, people watched, and these controversies before weren't able to stop that. Whereas now this one might be able to.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's a sour end towards a career. Like you said, a career that's been such a legacy-defining career. It's been so, like you said, in Ireland, in any UFC fan has, in the past, say, what you saying, 10 years or so, Conor McGregor is going to be one of your main reasons you started watching this sport. Conor McGregor is going to be the main reason you got kids in gyms nowadays. Ian Gary, UFC welterweight, number 2, possibly number 1 contender, started his career because of this man, Conor McGregor. Like I said, the way,
Hughes.
like I said, Paul Hughes, obviously Umar, they commented about him going out there, but for someone like Conor McGregor, it's really sad to see. Like I said, the end of this career now, it really is taking a dark turn. And like I said, the only news you've heard about Conor McGregor has been negative. There's been no positivity. There's never been. It's always been associated to drinking or clubs or alcohol or substance abuse and things like that. And it's not what you want to see towards the end of this career. That on the come up, this was the guy. This was the one to get behind. This was, like you said, the rags to riches story. This was the one that really you could get behind and you felt connection with. You felt, oh yes, you want him to do well. And it's turned so sour now, and like this is just going to add to it. So I think for Conor McGregor, like you said, it's a unfortunate way to end a career, which I think it is. I think it is going to be. I very highly doubt I think I will ever see him compete again. Not necessarily just because of this, but like you look at the last year or so, why has he not fought? Like you said, a broken toe. Yeah, it's a broken toe. I mean, do you know what I mean?
It is too, but isn't it? It's
yeah.
For someone for someone who pretty much had a no pull-out policy for his whole career to pull out with a broken toe, I get, look, your toe helps you balance, and it's hard to throw kicks with, it's nearly impossible to throw kicks with a broken toe. I get all this, but it was a broken toe. That fight could have been postponed a couple of months, and it could have it could have happened. And then you kind of wonder at the back of your mind too, has the UFC known that all of this? Well, of course the UFC's known that all this court case was going on. Maybe that's why they kind of have been keeping their distance. And yes, they did announce a fight, but ever since that fight fell through, it's pretty much been, let's keep them at arm's length. And anytime there's questions asked, there's never straight answers. So I don't know, but it is a very, very sad situation that we do find ourselves in with him. And it's a hard one for him to come back with. Even if he does appeal it and he wins the appeal, the court of public opinion, as they say, is most important. The headlines have not been good whatsoever. So as a sad one, and especially being around the Irish MMA scene as well, like I speak to so many fighters that look up to this guy, and you can still look up to his fighting style. His career was still a blueprint for how to do it, and I think fighters still should be able to do that. Just because he's done this, it doesn't mean you pretend that he wasn't an unbelievable fighter. He was an unbelievable fighter, entertaining as hell, but this has just put a big tarnish on it for sure. What a sad way to end the podcast.
I know, so Friday night's a bit of a party for the UK.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And again, as you say, if we get a couple of wins on Friday night, that card in March, I'm hearing so much talk about this card in March, we could literally stack that card filled to the brims with prospects and former champions, and you know
Yeah.
the UK MMA is absolutely flying at the minute. So thank you very much for tuning in, folks, to Combat Sports UK. As always, me and Dan has enjoyed talking about all the topics. Obviously, there's no card this weekend, so it's a wee bit different. We're just picking a few different topics and bouncing between them all. We will be back next week. Hopefully, the podcast will be out Monday or Tuesday. We will be reviewing UFC 310, which goes down next Saturday evening. So looking forward to that one. As always, make sure and like, follow, and subscribe Combat Sports UK on whatever platforms you're on. We are on YouTube. Loads of interviews coming out, UFC interviews, Cage Warriors interviews, PFL, Octagon interviews with everyone coming out. We're going to be starting a couple of new series. I'm not going to let it drop too much, but we do have something very exciting in the works at the moment as well. Where else can you get us? Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok as well. So make sure to go and follow Combat Sports UK on all platforms. Dan, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers, and I'll see you in the next one.
Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping,
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
and you're watching Combat Sports UK.